Welcome back to the vlog. Welcome here to Jacquinot Bay, Papua New Guinea. No, it is not what it sounds like. It's Jacquinot Bay. Anyways, we're heading back across the island of West New Britain, a half hour back to Hoskins. And yeah, looks like it's going to be a really nice flight. Cloud surfing on the way back. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we get started, I've got 670 pounds of fuel on here. Let's get our flight plan in here. All right, igniter's on, fuel pump on, everything's back. Make sure that the idle's all the way back, that the power lever's all the way back, I should say. Over 14% here. I introduce my fuel. Look, make sure my oil pressure's coming in. Make sure this is going to be coming past 35%. I'm looking up here now at my ITT to see what it's peaking out at. 695, I let go of the starter, igniter's off, fuel pump off. Generator on, push the prop forward, our V2 track on. As this number here, the amps start coming back down, then I'm going to turn my alternator on. It bounces back up, comes back down, and I throw my auxiliary bus on. Moresby 5565, November Tango Zulu taxi. Oh, we'll get them in the air. Alright, well what I do need to do is get my radar set up, so I'm going to come all the way here to the map page, come down to weather radar, hit mode, and then the same button standby, and it warms it up. Basically it just gets the gimbals going out there just so that it's not just flopping around willy-nilly in the pod. Fuel caps and selectors are good. We've already got Betty turned off for takeoff. We're at a bush location. It's really long though, very long. Switches and instruments, we are auxiliary page, 5,300 pounds, so 54 and 63. So 63 if we had to come back in, and 54 on rotate. Our flaps are set, indicated, verified at 20. Our trim's already set up, and we'll be for sure airborne by halfway, or else we'll just abort on the runway after takeoff. We'll pitch for 85 knots. Consider EPL, consider feather, otherwise cut off, pull off, shut off, 80 full flaps, emergencies, masters, and crack my door. All stations Jacquinot Bay, November Tango Zulu, taxi for Hoskins will be on climb 8,000, all stations Jacquinot Bay. The ignition, all of our lights and our inlet's already done. We'll do our SAR call which is a search and rescue call, once we take off, because I can't get a hold of them right now. We'll just do a rolling start here. So ignition condition, flaps 20, fuel and harnesses 30 degrees, so 1540. $15.90. And here we go. And there's already rotate. Because we're at sea level, it really does climb pretty well. If we can pitch up here to like the 12 degree mark, maybe 11 degree mark, you'll get 73 knots, which is the best angle of climb. And once we get up here, we got 1,400 feet per minute. It should probably even get up a little bit higher, like 1,700 here in a second. There's 700, we'll just start our turner out here. Now we got 1650 on the climb, so yeah, sea level, this thing really climbs because I'm empty too, even more so if I don't have seats. We'll bring our ITT right to the top of the green, which is 740. And bring it up on the big map page here. Now we're over 1,000, we'll pitch over. Our airspeed gets up to 85 knots, and that's when we'll start getting our flaps taken out. There we go, 10 degrees of flaps. Nose wants to drop, that's why this little trim wheel is automatically turning. And then we'll just pitch for 100 knots. 99 knots is our best rate of climb, but 100 knots is what we can use the autopilot with, so that's the minimum speed. In heading mode, and get our autopilot at least set up on heading. So for our direct track, there's just quite a bit of clouds already built up. I'm guessing when I just came through here, they were probably around 8,000. So We'll actually see if we can just go back on the direct track and then just kind of wiggle our way through because, well, it'd be really pretty, I think. Flying around a bunch of clouds. Bring our prop to 2,000 RPM, which is about the bottom of the N here. That's how I kind of know about where to pull it, and you kind of hear what it's supposed to sound like, and you can usually get it within 10 or 20. And then we'll just let our ITT sit there for a second. It should start coming back on down to 700 or 720, and sometimes it takes, 30 seconds to kind of wiggle its way down. But if I start adjusting it now too early, there's a really good chance that I'll just have to readjust it right back up. Oh, doesn't look like it's going to, so let's just pull our torque back at maybe 10 degrees and let it sit there for a second. Well, let's go ahead and see if we can get a hold of Moresby now. Moresby at 861, November Tango Zulu, departure. Moresby at 861, November Tango Zulu, departed Jacquinot Bay, 1 POB for Hoskins, and departed at time 22, tracking 274 on climb 8,000, estimating Hoskins 50. All stations Jacquinot Bay, 127.1, Kodiak November Tango Zulu, departed Jacquinot Bay for Hoskins passing 5,000 on climb 8,000. November Tango Zulu. It's crazy how fast the weather here can build. Like I just flew this route like, what is it, an hour and a half ago maybe? I dropped some other passengers off here and went back to Hoskins, got a second load and came back. The first route there was absolutely no clouds anywhere, and that was like 2 hours ago. And then these are already built up, and by the time another probably 2 hours goes, these will probably be up to like, I don't know, 20,000. Now that we've got SAR, we can flip on our last one, just letting us know that we've got everything done. These things are really nice. Like if you want to pick one up for yourself, if you're a pilot or a sim pilot, I've got them on my website. I'll have backlit ones here shortly. And I've got a video on there explaining really more what it is, but basically it has takeoff ones and then landing ones, basically all your critical items. So I've got ones for like coming out soon. Right now I just have piston and turbine ones for this box, but the backlit ones will have ones for like a 152, 172, and then ones just for ones that would have like maybe potentially multi-engine or, landing gear or cowl flaps, something a little bit more complex than like a 152. And then I also have turbine engines that also include like gear. Like this doesn't have gear, so the other one has a gear on it. They're really nice, cool to make sure that your eyes are up and out. You're not losing your place on a paper checklist. You're not having your head down looking at a paper checklist. It's up at eye view and just Velcros onto the dash. It comes with like the Velcro and everything to attach it anywhere you want, so. This flight though, it's obviously a little cloudy to be doing any like valley flying, but on Friday I come back this way. There's this incredible valley. I would say the most spectacular valley I've seen yet in PNG. It drops down probably at least 4,000 feet, at least. It's really amazing. And I'm gonna fly down that. I've already scouted it out a couple of times. Looks incredible, and I want to take you guys on it. So the video comes out after this one. I'm going to fly down that, and it's, yeah, you don't want to miss that one. All right, so our torque's at 1460. Our speed's up to 132 now indicated. I'm going to bring my torque on back to 1250. Let it settle in here. Let's do autopilot off for a second. Bring our prop back to 2,000 RPM, and then we'll just make some small fine adjustments to get up to 1250. There we go. And we'll wiggle our way through these clouds at 8,000. If we do have to go through any of them, we can. We're at our minimum safe now, which is, I believe, 8,000. Let me take a look. Yes, 8,000 straight on for a minimum safe. It's nice that it's still, it's only 11:30 in the morning, that these clouds haven't built up far enough that we can actually do this. A lot of times it's just like 15 to 30,000 feet already. There, you're catching just a glimpse of the valley. I'm going to fly down. That's one of them. Waterfalls like come out of the like sides of the mountain everywhere. It's just absolutely spectacular. And then the river at the bottom is like turquoise. It's, wow, yeah, it's really awesome. Just kind of like this. Oh, there's the other valley. There's two big valleys that go right here. If you're wondering, are you on an IFR flight plan? Yes, all my flights that I file here in PNG are IFR flight plans. We don't get clearances here in Papua New Guinea like you would in the rest of the world. So it is a little bit different in that respect, but all my flights, I file IFR. That gives me a different cloud clearance that I can do. And we have all of our own minimum safe charts, basically en route charts that we've come up with, the altitudes that we can safely go over all of the terrain depending on how high it is. And I did a video going out to Jacquinot Bay talking extensively about that and how that whole system works here in Papua New Guinea, because it is very different than the rest of the world. And we don't have a lot of the aids that the rest of the world has. That is for sure. Does not look like I can squeeze through at this altitude right here. So we'll just punch through that. We still are at minimum safe. I'm actually 8,500 now. And a lot of you guys wonder why I don't go IFR that often. It's because sometimes it's just a lot easier just to like go around stuff because of the terrain. And you have to get down to certain altitudes, and if you start getting into something, then there's a potential that you're not going to be able to get underneath of it where you need to get to. So a lot of times it's just easier to stay VFR, go around some stuff, and or also then to have to climb all the way up to your minimum safe, which might be 4,000 to 5,000 feet higher than you really even need to go. It's going down to 8,000. Put our minimum or our descent profile in here. So I hit my flight plan button here, hit my button, turn over to the altitude, and then put in pattern altitude. So Hoskins is at sea level, so I put in 1,000 feet, hit enter, enter again, do the enter knob, come on down here to this, and then I could put in my target, what I want to go down at. So I'll do it at 800 feet per minute, and then hit enter, just one time I guess. And then if I scroll all the way back to my main map page, it puts on a top of descent mark right there, and Betty will say top of descent. That'll let me know when I need to head on down. I think in all of West New Britain, this is where most of the clouds are. Everywhere else is just spectacular day, but that's all right. It's a nice change sometimes. We are 10 minutes out. Let's start up our checklist, our fuel selectors, and our brakes. Basically, I'm just checking my brakes to make sure that they feel like they have pressure, like they haven't. Maybe if I punctured a line or if one of them worn through, which has happened before, and you bleed out all of your hydraulic fluid for your brakes, and one of them would just go really soft. That's what I'm checking there. Make sure my TAWS is on or off, whatever I'd like, depending on where I'm landing. My VREF, which is my approach speed. So I turn my enter knob here over to my auxiliary page, and it gives me my estimated landing weight at 5,200. I come down here, 5,200, so 62 knots. Put in 62 knots. That was letting me know to go down at 800 feet per minute. So I turn my autopilot to 600 feet. And as you can watch right here, it's going to go zooming past 600. Once it gets up a little bit closer to 800, it slows down. Then I turn it to 800 so that it just kind of sits there. And if I don't touch the rudder pedals at all, you can see as I'm going down, my speed's increasing, and you can see that little line is slowly working its way off to the left, which means I need to step on that rudder or put in a little bit of left rudder pressure or trim. Once I turn this knob here, and it turns my altitude select all the way down to 1,000 feet, it puts up that little blue arc right there, and that lets me know when I'm actually going to get to my 1,000 feet. So it's a little past Hoskins right now. I'm going to turn it up to 900 feet per minute, and that will bring that line back. We're going to put our landing light on. We'll do inlet here when we get a little bit slower. All stations Hoskins, Kodiak November, Tango Zulu, 23 miles to run from the east, passing 7,100. Circuit Hoskins 48. I don't know if you guys can see it or not, but there's a volcano right over here, and it's actually an active one, and I think that it's actually grown over the past few years that I've been here. Like, it used to be a lot more of a knoll, and now it's quite a bit steeper. Anyways, I think like 12 years ago or so, that one actually erupted, shut down the whole airport for like 6 months or something from all the ash. Pretty wild. And then we had another one. It was like a grandfather and like a son or something like that. But the father and son volcanoes out that way. I've shown you one of those before, and that erupted back in like 2018, and that also shut us down for a couple of months out here. All stations, Hoskins 1271, November Tango Zulu, 10 miles to the east, 3,500. Circuit time 48. We'll be tracking to join a left downwind, runway 12, Hoskins. I'm going to go ahead and hit my OBS here, turn this to runway 12, 120, puts a nice line on my screen there. You can obviously see where it is, but it is still helpful sometimes, especially at places that are tucked down in the jungle. You don't even see them. There's some of the places like Siawi that you can be like less than 1 mile and you still don't even see it because it's so tucked down into the jungle. It's pretty wild.
Caution, terrain.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Caution, terrain.
All right, if we have to go around for any reason, birds or whatever else that might be on the runway, we'll just power up 20 degrees of flaps, pitch for 73 knots, reset our ITD to 740. Well, the winds are still going at 8 knots this direction, so it is showing me that it'd be better to land on runway 12, but on the ground earlier, the winds were coming from the opposite direction, so we'll see once I get up there if I have a tailwind on landing or not. But this one is always a fun place. You can land basically on the threshold and stop by the first taxiway, which is the 500-foot marker. Today I'm a little bit heavier with fuel and I have all my seats, so I don't really want to overheat my brakes just to prove a point, but it is a really fun thing to do when you're completely empty, don't have seats. And I come back from cavying tomorrow, so maybe I'll try it then. But yeah, it's a really fun thing to do. All stations, Hoskins, November Tango Zulu will be joining into a left downwind runway 12, Hoskins. Moresby at 861, November Tango Zulu. In the circuit, Hoskins, cancel SAR.
November Tango Zulu, Hoskins, TAWS terminated.
November Tango Zulu. All right, landing clearance is done. That's what the SAR is here. This is an uncontrolled airport. Our prop forward. That's about it. Here's below 140. We'll do engine inlet to bypass. Prop and harness is done, and flaps to go. We can go 10 degrees of flaps now. Take a look at the runway, see if there's any cars or tractors or anything like that on there. And also when you put your OBS thing and put a line, then you know exactly when you're like perpendicular or parallel with it. Makes it just a little bit easier. Here is 1,000 feet and beam the numbers, 20 degrees flaps.
50 miles to run Hoskins. Request triple for descent, and we already copied November Tango Zulu and Mike Charlie Tango.
Bring my torque back to like probably like 350 to 400 because I'm empty today. We'll drop down to 700 feet and then we'll turn our base. Go on 62 knots on final, so 72 knots on base. Looks like actually that's far enough, even though I'm a little bit higher than I thought. That's alright, we'll slow on down and drop some altitude. November Tango Zulu turning base Hoskins. But yeah, the winds actually are still in my favor, so that's good. Go full flaps, checklist is complete, all down, know that they're good to go. Alright, we'll slow on down to 60.
Mike Charlie Tango, Papa
62 knots.
1271.
And we'll try to land just past the threshold. And I got 0 knots now. I floated for a little bit too long to get stopped. Anyways, still fun regardless. This is my last flight of the day, just before noon. And it's a nice day. So thank you guys for taking the time to watch as always. Welcome to Hoskins. And if you're not already subscribed, definitely hit the subscribe button. I put out videos a couple times a week, so if you like this video, I've got lots more to choose from for many places all through PNG. So thanks again for watching, and welcome to Hoskins. My fuel, hit my engine, then fuel. We got 5:10 landed with. Hit my hops time and everything else off. Off, feather, and shut that plane up. Alright guys, see you next time.